Knowledge is dynamic, fluid, an ever-changing realm. As our lives have been looming in uncertainty lately, we're here today to celebrate that very idea of life.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome on behalf of DPS International. Today, we will be commencing with our very first virtual Theory of Knowledge exhibition by the class of 2022, The Map of Knowledge Celebrating Metamorphosis. The COVID-19 pandemic has altered our lives, and the lockdown period was spent in solitude for most and in isolation for some. However, the new year heralds a period of metamorphosis, a period of change.
For all the parents who have joined us on this occasion, this is for you. Here we'll be exploring what TOK is and the various ways by which we connect to theory of knowledge in our everyday lives.
We are honored to have with us our chief guest, Mr. Michael Dunn, who is the creator of the famous TOK website, theoryofknowledge.net. We also welcome our guest schools and all the parents present here today.
We are delighted to have some esteemed guests from the IB community. We have Pathways World School, Lancers International School, GD Goenka World School, and Genesis Global School.
Among us, we also have our head of school, Ms. Rima Singh, our secondary school principal, Ms. Seema Kaushal, and our primary school principal, Ms. Kamal Shah. Please give them a warm welcome. We would also like to take this opportunity to welcome Ms. Monisha and Ms. Priyanka, who have taken our time to witness our portrayal of TOK learning.
We also welcome our PYP coordinator, Ms. Arpita Saxena, MYP coordinator, Ms. Ekta Singh, and our DP coordinator, Ms. Jyotika Singh.
We would also like to extend a warm welcome to our friends from MYP5.
We're honored to have you all be a part of this momentous occasion in our DP journey.
Now, on behalf of our TOK department, please welcome Ms. Shalini, the TOK coordinator, to welcome our chief guest for the event.
Albert Einstein once quoted, "The search of truth is more precious than its possession." Such is the journey of TOK learners at DPSI. Good afternoon, everyone. With immense pleasure and pride, on behalf of Theory of Knowledge Department and the class of 2022 at DPS International Gurgaon, I, Shalini Sehgal, welcome you all to the Map of Knowledge. Theory of knowledge is a product of doubt. Our students are inspired, guided, and driven to inquire into whether we really know anything at all. This leads them organically into the examination of knowing, in the hope of being able to distinguish between validated and biased beliefs. Through TOK Exhibition journey, students at DPSI celebrated the process of metamorphosis, changing their ways to accept knowledge depending on their perspectives and values. To be able to exhibit their learning, they adopted a three-step approach. Selection of an IA prompt, which is a knowledge question. Identification of three objects connected to the IA prompt. And finally, drafting a commentary to illustrate their connections. This success and happiness is being witnessed by all of us today. And among all of us, we have our esteemed chief guest for the evening, Mr. Michael Dunn. Mr. Michael went to school in Cambridge and university at Edinburgh, where he majored in history and was awarded an MA with honours. He did his PGCE at Exeter University, spending his first couple of years as a teacher in London. He has worked in various schools in Bogota and Lima since 2001, and his last position was as TOK coordinator and MYP humanities teacher at Newton College, Peru from 2016 to 2020. Over the years, he has also collaborated with Cambridge University Press on written and video blogs, resource development, and in-school seminars and workshops for students and teachers. He set up theoryofknowledge.net in 2010, and it has grown to become the biggest online resource in the world for this course. He is dedicated in making TOK a genuinely life-changing experience for teachers and learners involved in it, which he does by designing resources, developing in-school and online workshops, and via his unique monthly newsletter. I would like to congratulate all who are present here and best wishes to the class of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for getting us started. Now let's welcome our chief guest to share his learning with everyone.
My name is Michael Dunn, and I'm the creator of theoryofknowledge.net, an online resource centre for TOK. I'm honoured to be a part of this fantastic event at DPS International, and I'm really happy to be supporting an event that promotes the work that we all do in TOK. TOK aligns so beautifully with the key skills that students need to be honing at high school in order to become successful members of the epistemic community, that is critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication. In today's society, which is characterized by data overload and the constant bombardment of misinformation and disinformation, these four skills have never been more important for students to develop and then take with them to university and the workplace. This event, based on the concept of metamorphosis, really showcases the way in which TOK concepts manifest themselves in the real world and have a link to all the disciplines that we involve ourselves in. The work of the students show how you can take an ordinary object and explore the way in which it has strong resonance with the different themes of TOK: religion, indigenous societies, language, technology, and politics. The ideas and concepts have been communicated in a clear and engaging way, and I commend the students for the effort that they've made, both in terms of the assessment targets of TOK and in helping to put on such a fantastic exhibition. DPSI has really managed to demonstrate the potential of TOK, both as an intellectual discipline in its own right and as a way of highlighting the learning going on in an international school. I hope that it helps to inspire other schools and other students to put on similar events and continue to spread the message that TOK is the central academic experience, not just of the IB diploma, but of students' academic experiences to date. Well done to all of the DPSI students and to your fantastic TOK department. I hope you have a fantastic day today. I hope the event goes well. I'm looking forward to watching it from here in Cambridge, and I congratulate you again for putting on such a brilliant event. So well done.
Thank you so much for those insightful comments, sir. We would now like to invite our secondary school principal, Ms. Seema Kaushal, to address the gathering.
Good evening, Chief Guest Mr. Michael Dunn, guest students and teachers from various schools, students and teachers of DPS International, parents and the world community. In this age of knowledge explosion, the need of the hour is to have individuals who can evaluate the knowledge claims, individuals who have greater awareness and seek credibility, individuals who put aside their ideological biases to examine knowledge claims from multiple perspectives. The world would be a happier place if we were all aware of our personal and ideological assumptions and become more accepting of the same in others. In simpler terms, the world would be a happier place if we had all studied the TOK. Thank you, Mr. Dunn, for your untiring efforts in spreading the TOK light through your website and with your presence today. We are ever so grateful for your time and engagement with our exhibition today. Students and teachers of guest schools who are present here today, thank you for being here with us on our special day, and we hope you have an enriching evening ahead. Socrates said, and I quote, "The ability to distinguish between right and wrong lies with the people's reason and not the society." Join us today as students from DPSI engage in this Socratic elenchi into the world of TOK. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Seema, for all the motivating words.
With this, we come to the beginning of the TOK exhibition by the class of 2022. To inaugurate the event, we would cordially like to invite our head of school, Ms. Rima, to officially announce the exhibition open.
Good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome to all of you. The nature of learning has always been important in an IB school. As educators, we are aware that knowledge has a short shelf life, change is happening at a fast pace, and today's students need real-world skills to thrive in the not-too-distant future. These skills include critical thinking, collaboration, problem-solving, self-awareness, self-management, and responsible decision-making. And they are all important regardless of the subject area they are taught through. This requires a deliberate effort from us educators to create conditions where learners can demonstrate and develop these skills. In addition, we want to encourage all students in an international school to develop intercultural understanding and respect. Theory of knowledge, TOK, a core of the IB diploma program, is exactly the springboard to develop these skills and intercultural competencies in our students. I would like to congratulate all students and their teachers who have put in a super effort to make this day happen, where students will showcase their TOK journey. And it gives me great pleasure to declare this DPSI TOK virtual exhibition open.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Mani Malhotra, and I'm the host for the Vega channel of the TOK Exhibition. Vega is a star located just 25 light years from Earth, and it's visible in the summer sky of the Northern Hemisphere. The star is part of the constellation Lyra, and with the stars Deneb and Altair, forms an asterism known as the Summer Triangle. All exhibitions that you see in this channel relate implicitly to the Vega star's importance to ancient cartography. Before we even had maps for the Earth, we had maps for our stars, as ancient civilizations looked up and charted the night. So without further ado, let's get started on the Vega channel for the Class of 2022's TOK Exhibition.
My name is Preksha Gehlot and I am in DP1C. I have selected prompt 13.
How can we know that current knowledge is an improvement upon past knowledge?
This exhibition tends to explore this prompt by reflecting upon how most present knowledge is propagated from past knowledge. The first object is an electric kitchen chimney which is used extensively at my home while I'm cooking. It is used to extract heat, smoke, food or odor, and grease from the kitchen to make the environment fresh. Previously, nowhere used to use the natural open chimney where the tunnel above the stove can direct smoke from cooking into the outside environment. It is natural and sustainable, but it leaves charcoal in the environment and makes it smoky. This affects the overall efficiency of the natural chimney. Along the same lines, in 1993, an electric chimney was invented. It is also placed above the stove and is more efficient as it can extract air, grease, smoke in less time and make the kitchen pollution free. This shows that current knowledge is an improvement upon past knowledge. To increase efficiency, there was a progression in the past technology. Despite the positives, it has added higher prices to the electricity bill and inhibited us from living a sustainable life. Is a vertical garden located near my home. I frequently see the vertical garden through my car and always think about how mesmerizing, beautiful, and eco-friendly this plantation technique is. Earlier, nowhere used traditional/conventional gardening for the plantation, which required physical land area. But due to increased technology and innovation, Norse have adopted vertical gardening. It is done on walls and is a progression of the traditional garden because vertical gardening requires less land, so while keeping the land for other use, the natural beauty of the place is enhanced. This idea was inspired from vines and wall climbers like grape plants. Urbanization is an important factor which has led to this change because of the increased concrete building and less land available for conventional gardening. This method has been a boon for people living in congested cities and places. Needless to mention the human health and environmental benefit that comes alongside. Third object is a novel, Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I read this specific copy of text in my English class. I was delighted to see the ebook because now I can share it with my friends and family and suggest them to read this beautiful novel without purchasing it. It has reduced the cost and increased the readers who want to read the book. This advancement is surely one of the best examples of the improvement of the past knowledge. Before, a physical book was required to read it and one had to carry it around. This can cause the book to be misplaced. I almost lost my copy of the book while I was at a school camp. Although now using the technology available, physical book can be converted into the ebook or it can be found online, which we can access anywhere through a device. Hence, the knower can read the book even if they don't have the physical book. Furthermore, the ebook is eco-friendly as less trees will be chopped to make the book. At times, we can't be definite as there may be some drawbacks to it. For example, an internet connection or device would be required to access the novel. The improvement of knowledge can be seen as a pilgrimage shift in the effective use of technology. In conclusion, the objects selected for this exhibition depict progress made upon past technology/concept to fulfill the increased demand of the knowers, current lifestyle, urbanization, and fast pace of life by reducing inefficiencies, increasing productivity, and ensuring better pursuit of knowledge.
I'm Simar Bhogul from DP1C and I've chosen prompt 24. How might the context in which knowledge is presented influence whether it is accepted or rejected? When I started to explore the prompt, I thought it would be a good idea to start with what I think knowledge really is. Knowledge in its purest form, when it hasn't been interpreted or retold or questioned, is simply information. We as individuals distort it and label it as right or wrong based on our own moral compasses, beliefs, values, and opinions. However, our moral compasses are calibrated by society and the norms and standards set by it. These set of societal norms are what make up our context. Context is vital to understanding what knowledge truly represents. It is constantly changing, which is why it is important to know the details of a piece of knowledge before we analyze it. The first object that I've chosen to justify the prompt is an excerpt from Esquire magazine's interview with Steve Carell. Steve Carell played boss Michael Scott in the 2000s TV series The Office, which is my favorite TV show. I watched it many times, hence I understand the meaning and intention behind some of the jokes. In this interview, Steve Carell talks about how the show would not have been accepted if aired today. This is due to some of the racist, sexist, and homophobic references in the show. Even though these jokes were aimed towards satire, they would not have been tolerated by today's woke audience due to change in comedic climate. Steve Carell addresses his character Michael Scott's problematic personality and how he would have been rejected by today's audience. Knowledge presented in the show back when it was aired was accepted perhaps due to lack of sensitivity, awareness, and inclusivity, but perhaps also due to societal norms and comedic climate. The same jokes pitched to today's audience would have been rejected and would have invited disgusted remarks. The Office was accepted at its time due to norms and would be rejected now due to current context. My second object is a political cartoon by Dr. Seuss, whose books I read a lot as a child. And in this cartoon I saw a very different side of his writing, something more serious and less whimsical. The image shows a woman wearing a dress saying America First, reading to two children from a book named Adolf the Wolf. The lady quotes from the book and says, "And a wolf chewed up and spit out their bones, but that didn't matter because these were foreign children." The cartoon refers to America's stance during the Second World War and shows how they were disinterested and reluctant to help those who needed it despite having the resources, simply because they weren't American, all up until the Pearl Harbor incident when America was suddenly interested in participating. When taken out of context, the cartoon can be taken offensively and aggressively and can be seen as a direct attack towards the other countries involved in World War II. However, in the given social, historical, political, and most importantly, personal context of the author and the type of work he has been generally producing, the audience understands that the cartoon is aimed towards creating satire and not towards offending the other countries involved in the war. Given the correct context, the cartoon would be widely accepted. However, if taken out of context, there is a possibility of it being rejected by its audience. My third object is a tweet by former President Donald Trump in which he infamously says, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts." This isn't the first offensive and horribly thought out tweet by Donald Trump. I picked this object as an example for situations where context does not matter. The tweet sounds bad enough when taken out of context, but even with the given context of the riots and the George Floyd murder, the tweet is still horrible and offensive, and nothing can justify the situation where such a comment is made from someone in such an influential and privileged position, and it's made and directed towards people that are fighting for their rights and equal treatment. So this tells us that even though context matters, there are times when comments are made that are so derogatory and repulsive that no background information could justify them. Despite the repulsiveness of this tweet, there are still people that follow and support Donald Trump. Same goes to Object 2, where there are people who might reject the political cartoon even in the correct context. And same with Object 1, where people might have rejected the racist and homophobic jokes even though they knew the context and they knew that it was accepted by societal norms, which brings us to my conclusion that context is always changing, but perhaps it isn't solely dependent on norms. Perhaps context is different for each one of us. Even though something may be widely accepted due to culture and traditions, it may be unacceptable to a certain individual with different values. And who are we to say that these individuals don't matter just as much as anyone else? So in conclusion, just like every other prompt, prompt 24 has two sides. Not only in terms of yes, context matters or no, context does not matter, but also this gray area where information presented is rejected by some and accepted by others, even though they're in the same context due to personal likings and dislikings. Thank you.
I am Ayush Rathore from DP1A, and the prompt that I have chosen is what role does imagination play in the production of knowledge about the real world? The core theme is knowledge in the knower. The optional themes are knowledge in technology and knowledge in religion, and the concepts used are interpretation and justification. Imagination is the ability to create mental pictures and new ideas. Knowledge is the understanding of an information or subject that you get by experience or study. Thus, as our knowledge depends on understanding and visualization, imagination is an extremely important tool that may help the production of knowledge greatly. My first object is the periodic table. The periodic table is an extremely valuable tool used in science classrooms all across the world, including my own. This particular image was taken from the Chemistry IB data booklet. It was created by Dmitry Mendeleev, but it wasn't just an ordinary discovery. Because Mendeleev worked extremely hard trying to organize the periodic elements, one night he dreamed about the creation of the periodic table. When he woke up, his dreams created by his subconscious thinking opened the door to his imagination, and hence after the dream, Mendeleev was able to use his imagination to visualize the periodic table in his head. His imagination thereafter helped play a major role in the translation and creation of an idea delivered to him by his subconscious into the real world. His imagination also acted as the driving force for him to collect evidence that would help justify his idea so that it would be accepted by other knowers in the community. My second object is Revit Software. Revit is a building modeling information software I am learning outside school. It is used by architects and engineers to visualize a structure, create detailed descriptions, and give construction notes on structures that are going to be implemented in real life. Revit gives its users free range to create any new idea they want to with real-world measurements and materials. This allows the knower to produce knowledge they are certain will translate to the real world. Hence, Revit is a software that would allow the knower to efficiently use their imagination to create knowledge while providing certainty that the knowledge they are creating can be translated to the real world. The use of Revit for a large number of structures all around the world is a great example that helps justify that Revit indeed helps a lot of knowers to visualize their imagination, and that imagination is a key tool for knowers to make changes to the real world. It also tells us that new technology like Revit that aids the knower's imagination plays a key role in the constant production of new knowledge. My third text is this painting of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is an ancient Hindu scripture, and the painting was taken from my grandmother's room. The painting in question depicts Lord Krishna narrating the Gita to Arjuna for the first time. The knower was able to depict the moment written in scriptures without any pictorial evidence and through pure imagination. The knower was able to use his imagination to produce a painting that was able to explain the Gita and provide a visual representation so that other knowers can better understand the significance of the moment and also understand the nature of the conversation between Lord Krishna and Lord Arjuna. This helps us justify that the knower was able to interpret the text and create knowledge that would help set context for the text, hence helping other knowers to understand existing knowledge better. In conclusion, all three objects, the periodic table by Mendeleev, the Revit software used by architects and me, and the Bhagavad Gita painting on my grandmother's wall, were able to justify that imagination plays a key role in the production of knowledge about the real world, and that it especially helps the knower to visualize the knowledge they are either producing, learning, or communicating. Thank you.
My name is Ashmit Ribeiro. I am from DP1C. I have selected prompt 20. What is the relationship between personal experience and knowledge? I chose this prompt because I've always wondered about the impact of our experiences on our knowledge. Hence, choosing this prompt for my TOK exhibition seemed like a great opportunity to extend my knowledge on these topics. We as knowers have a different perception and understanding of the world. That is because everything we have experienced since our childhood to the present shapes our beliefs and our definition of what we consider the truth. In my opinion, it is crucial to have a balanced view of personal experiences and knowledge to have an open mind on individuals, places, or ideas. My first object is an image of my second dog, a Labrador named Alea. I'm extremely fond of dogs and have grown to understand them better through my experiences with them. I had my first dog when I was 8 years old, and the 6 years I spent training, feeding, and playing with him allowed me to learn what goes into communicating with dogs. Training my first dog was a difficult task, and I had to use research to gain knowledge so I could be better suited to train him. With Alea, I realized how having a personal experience with a dog before made the training experience much faster, and she seemed to feel more comfortable too. I researched about Labradors to gain some knowledge about them, and it is definitely true that gaining theoretical knowledge beforehand is helpful. However, having prior personal experience allowed me to be further prepared to not only train my second dog, but I also learned to understand the behavior dogs display. This demonstrates that personal experience gives rise to the production of knowledge and allows individuals to have a more practical approach in their lives by learning through their mistakes and using what they learned to create better outcomes. My second object is a basketball. Basketball is an important part of my life, and I've learned a lot through the sport over the years. It has not only taught me self-discipline, but also enabled me to gain knowledge about athletic concepts such as dribbling, rebounding, and communicating with teammates. I developed this knowledge further by interactions with my coaches and new players I met at tournaments. Along with making me a more respectful team member, basketball has also improved my collaboration skills, sportsmanship, and determination. Playing basketball has also made me realize the importance of a balanced diet for an athlete. I learned about the importance for a balanced diet in my subjects sports, exercise, and health sciences. The combination of knowledge that I acquired from basketball and these classes assisted me to adjust my diet in order to increase my nutrition intake. My coach recommends us to note down offensive and defensive strategies and court positions so that I can study, practice, and apply them in future matches. This helps me gain knowledge and use my personal experiences as a reflection. Therefore, the combination of my personal experiences while playing basketball and studying the importance of our diet has assisted the development of my knowledge on how to master the sport. My third object is an image of the Burj Khalifa that I captured during my trip in 2020. I lived in Dubai for most of my life and still consider it my home. I continue to go there at least once a year to visit my family. My experiences in Dubai taught me about the culture and linguistic aspects of the language Arabic. And since I get older every time I visit there, I get the opportunity to meet and interact with a diverse group of people from my uncle's company. Through this experience, I have learned about how important it is to maintain political relationships in the business industry. I learned a lot of knowledge during my most recent trip, wherein I attended multiple meetings with my uncle that taught me the importance of technology and how new technology could make business more efficient. Moreover, not only did I learn about the business structure in Dubai, I also learned various other things such as how to drive a quad bike and how to cook Arabic dishes such as hummus. I believe that the knowledge I possess is majorly influenced by Arab culture that I was surrounded by in my younger years, which is now being eclipsed by the Indian culture that I experience. Being able to compare and observe the differences and similarities between both countries has allowed me to understand how factors such as economic conditions, historical events, and cultures can affect the behavior and overall lifestyle of human beings. In conclusion, the exploration of the prompt demonstrated how our personal experiences provide us with new information, perspectives, and ideas that allow the acquisition and development of our knowledge. We then use that knowledge to improve our performance, develop our overall skill, and increase efficiency. Our personal experiences also give us the power to possess the knowledge that might benefit others, which encourages individuals to share and transmit their knowledge with other knowers.
My name is Mani Malhotra from DP1A, and my exhibition revolves around TOK Prompt 22, which is, what role do experts play in influencing our consumption and acquisition of knowledge? Now, this IA prompt aims to establish a connection between expert influence and the process of learning. Per my understanding of TOK, experts can usually play one of three roles in individuals' acquisition of knowledge: an exemplary role, an interpretive role, and a self-inquisitive role. The first role that experts play in our acquisition of knowledge, the exemplary role, is visible wherever experts display a model procedure that everyone else can follow. The second role is the interpretive role. Experts can comprehend information that would otherwise be inaccessible or incomprehensible to the general public, and they can convey said information as constructed knowledge. The final role is the self-inquisitive role, where an expert comes along and presents a contrarian viewpoint on what is usually considered common knowledge, causing knowers to perceive that knowledge in a different light and through a different lens. The objects I've selected for my TOK exhibition reflect examples of these three roles from my everyday life. Now, my first object is the Gruel control deck from Magic the Gathering, a combat card game that I've been playing since elementary school. This deck is important to my exhibition because it's symbolic of the first of the three roles of an expert that I've identified, the exemplary role. Now, this deck archetype was popularized by one of my favorite pro Magic players, Magamagwai, in 2019, and after watching his live streams, I was intrigued to try out this deck archetype for myself, and it proved to be incredibly effective across my games. Understanding Mogwai's deck building process dramatically improved my understanding of concepts such as a mana curve, match of win cons, etc., which are forms of knowledge relevant to the scenario. Experts in the exemplary role often set a standard that learners aim to follow, and in the gaming world this is called a meta. And visible in the example, any tactics that experts create or use quickly become the meta among gamers, who of course are the relevant community of knowers for this example. Therefore, experts play an exemplary role in our acquisition of knowledge because by following in the footsteps of an expert, individuals' understanding of certain processes or subjects improves significantly. My second object is a copy of the official NFL gamebook for the football game between the Philadelphia Eagles and New York Giants in Week 10 of the 2020 NFL season. I've been a diehard football fan since I was young, and this gamebook is important to my understanding of the knowledge question because it illustrates the second role I identified, the interpretive role. The NFL publishes detailed game logs for every game of the season, and these are usually more than 6 pages long, replete with complex statistics that are almost impossible to understand and contextualize in a vacuum. However, when they're analyzed by professional statisticians or coaches, these stats can uncover new knowledge about the performance of certain schemes over time or the development of diamonds in the rough that nobody has noticed. It was after analyzing this very game, for example, that leading statistical source PFF, or Pro Football Focus, noted that Giants linebacker Blake Martinez could be a dark horse candidate for the NFL's Pro Bowl. This object therefore shows the interpretive role experts can play in knowers' acquisition of new knowledge. Trained statisticians and scouts who were at a PFF were able to interpret otherwise abstract tables, diagrams, and jargon to generate knowledge that is easily understood by the average man. The third object is a non-fiction book by the global copy chief of BuzzFeed Inc., Emmy Favia, titled A World Without Whom. It examines changing linguistic trends in the 21st century as a result of social media and focuses on new perspective on English language conventions as individuals and linguists shift from prescriptivist to descriptivist mindsets. The book closely examines the nature of internet-driven language and molding how humans communicate, how language has adapted to be less discriminatory, and how globalization has caused the emergence of pidgin languages like Spanglish, Franglais, Hinglish, etc. It therefore aptly embodies the third expert role in knowers' individual acquisition of knowledge, making it relevant to the exhibition. It allows readers to reflect on common knowledge, in this case their knowledge of English, and how it may be inaccurate or outdated. Readers of Emmy Favia's book are able to reconsider what they know and believe about knowledge, and uncover their biases within the subject. The book therefore fulfills the self-inquisitive role of an expert, causing readers to reconsider existing knowledge, and perhaps form new knowledge altogether using new perspectives. And with that, I come to a conclusion for my exhibition. I hope you guys enjoyed exploring TOK through the lens of my life. Thank you very much, everybody.
I'm Aradhya Bhagat of DP1B, and this is my TOK exhibition. The IA prompt I have chosen is prompt number 28, which is, to what extent is objectivity possible in the production or acquisition of knowledge? I will be exploring different factors such as social influence, the areas of knowledge, and the sources of information which facilitate or prevent knowers from acquiring objective knowledge. My first object is the Facebook app. This social media platform facilitates the sharing of information such as news, blogs, etc. In fact, 43% of users consider Facebook to be their primary source for news. However, this app is not a credible source for obtaining objective knowledge. This object directly relates to my IA prompt, considering Facebook often obscures opinions or information which might clash with the user's beliefs or political values. Now, this creates an echo chamber, which is an environment where an individual only encounters opinions or information which reinforces their own. This creates a bias in the user's mind. I picked this object as I've personally noticed my family members using Facebook and becoming victims to believing in biased information. Now, why does this happen? Well, knowledge and technology being interrelated is both a boon and a bane. Facebook's algorithm keeps on reinforcing our existing perspective as a knower, which unknowingly leads us to having a one-dimensional approach of thinking. Echo chambers have contributed to political polarization amongst the users and have often caused riots with extremists from opposing sides pinning against each other without even considering opinions which are contradictory to their viewpoints, because that's what they've been fed by their Facebook feed. Historical biases are very prevalent in history books. This is due to the government often dictating which events of the past to glorify and which ones to obscure. Like in my object, which is a history book known as The History of the United States since 1861. This book revolves around World War II and the internment camps the Japanese Americans were put in by the American government. Now, this book justifies the internment camps and describes them to be out of military necessity or national security. Disregards the torture and human rights violations the Japanese Americans faced. While reading this book, I realized how difficult it's becoming to acquire objective knowledge, even from a reputable source like this textbook, which in fact is taught in American schools. I also realized the impressions created and legitimized by such books become important elements in shaping the political beliefs and democratic ideals of knowers. However, technology has made acquiring objective knowledge more accessible, as with the internet, knowers can use and discover unbiased sources of knowledge which are available now. My third object is an infographic which revolves around the gender breakdown of employees in the tech industry. I picked this object because women being discouraged from working, especially in an industry like tech, has been an issue for years. And while technology has helped us make progress by creating more job opportunities and making applying for jobs more accessible, it has also pushed us back due to factors like an algorithmic bias in an AI system. According to a study from Reuters, Amazon's AI recruiting tool turned out to be sexist against women. It qualified candidates by analyzing trends in resumes submitted over the past 10 years, and since most of these applications came from men, which highlight the systemic and historical issue of men being more likely and more encouraged to work than women and its impact today, the system taught itself that male candidates were more preferable. Hence, employers were unable to make an objective decision when hiring employees, as the source of information itself was biased. However, companies such as Amazon and Facebook have recognized this issue and have shifted to a more equal recruiting system. They're working towards eliminating inbuilt bias in technology. This process has been very eye-opening for me as I explored different IA prompts and finally narrowed down on my 3 objects. I've acquired knowledge in a variety of subjects and I've also become more open-minded as I explored different perspectives when unpacking my prompt, which is to what extent is objectivity possible in the production or acquisition of knowledge. And as I connected my objects to the real-world context, I learned about how bias in knowledge and technology is impacting the world severely, and it's also accelerating social issues which need to be tackled.
My name is Jitesh Bokan and I am from DP1A. The IA prompt that I have chosen for this TOK exhibition is Why Do We Seek Knowledge? And the optional theme is Knowledge and Technology. Knowledge and technology are well connected. Knowledge gives us power, and with the help of the power, we have developed and advanced our technology. Technology helps us in different ways. In today's time, most of the work is done with the help of technology. The advancement of technology allows us to gain access to a longer range of knowledge. Anyone can access and spread knowledge online. Most people feel that it is good because we may feel that the quality of knowledge could be improved if a large community can share and evaluate it. Technology can also hinder our search for knowledge. Technology allows anyone to express knowledge. We may come across some less reliable sources and even unfounded facts and claims. False information leads people in wrong direction. For example, in politics, a large group of people can be swayed by emotional appeal. Belief and emotional appeal have always been a decisive factor in what we tend to accept as knowledge. Some people are easily swayed by emotionally appealing claims rather than those that appeal to reason. People have different perspectives on knowledge and technology. Some think technology is bad and some think technology is good and making our life easier. It depends on perspective, how we see it. Technology has allowed us to a longer range. Less educated, non-expert people can now find knowledge and information that was previously only available to few ones. Technology can be used to misinform large group of people. Technology can be used to gather information about your online behavior. This data can be used by many people. Water pumps are the common type of pumps that can be found in yields and on farms. The water pump was invented in 1736. Before the water pump was invented, farmers used to depend on rainfall, rivers and lakes. Due to the too much dependency on weather, the crop yield used to be unstable. People understood the problem, they seeked knowledge and invented the water pump. My family is also involved in farming, and the water pump really has made it easy to do farming. It was difficult to do farming before the invention of the water pump due to the lack of lakes and rivers. People who were close to the lakes and rivers were only used to do farming. The water pump technology has made the farmers' life easy. Now the farmers can grow crops easily and raise their families without any water problems. The water pump technology has affected our city in good terms. Now it has the 15th largest population engaged in agriculture, with 44.96% population engaged in agriculture. The water pump technology has helped a lot of farmers, including my family also. The farmer can now grow their crops, sell them to raise their families. Hunting rifles are shouldered-fired guns with rifled barrels. Hunting rifles are used to kill big game species. My family also has a hunting rifle to protect their livestock. We live in a village located in Haryana, and in Haryana, leopard attacks in villages are common. Before the invention of hunting rifle, people used to defend their livestock by using spears. They had the knowledge of how to kill a leopard from a long distance without facing them, but still a lot of people died because a spear can be missed. People seek knowledge. They seek knowledge about gunpowder and the law of physics and created a hunting rifle. A hunting rifle can be reloaded and it was the best weapon for their protection and the protection of their livestock. As knowledge can be bad, people started hunting leopard and the leopard species were in danger. People seek more knowledge, and with the help of the knowledge, they advance their technology. And with the advanced technology, we created new hunting rifles. The new hunting rifles don't kill the leopard, instead they make them sleep. The leopard is unharmed and the livestock is also protected. COVID-19 is a disease caused by new coronavirus that was first identified in December 2019. If we didn't have the knowledge of viruses, then the whole world could have died today. We had the knowledge and the technology to help us deal with the whole COVID-19 situation. We seek knowledge and created the vaccine for COVID-19. We had such advanced technology and had a good knowledge of viruses, and still it took one whole year to make a vaccine. This is why we seek knowledge to make our technology more better and advanced. We seek knowledge from the COVID-19 and learn that it is mutating. We seek the knowledge, and now we have more knowledge on viruses, and we will be prepared for such outbreaks in future. Knowledge and technology help us save 10.6 million people. The knowledge help us to understand the virus and help us to make a vaccine. This is why we seek knowledge, because knowledge is very important in our life. Knowledge help us to advance our technology, and technology help us in solving our problems.
My name is Meher and I'm from DP1C. The IA prompt that I will be discussing in today's presentation is how is current knowledge shaped by its historical developments. Now the prompt in itself explores the effect of history on the knowledge that we currently have. It allows one to delve deeper into the origin of the knowledge. And it's very important for us to be aware of the origin so that we understand how it's been molded over the years to be socially acceptable. It provides insight on concepts such as culture, interpretation, and values. My first object is the Festival of Lights, Diwali. The core theme link is knowledge and religion, specifically the knowledge of how Diwali has been celebrated and how the celebrations have been impacted by historical developments. I chose this object as I've had the experience of viewing the shift in celebration firsthand, and it's taught me to respect traditions and differentiate between festivals that can be celebrated with friends and those that should be celebrated with family. The object directly links with the IA prompt, as the values and the development of interpretation of traditions and religions has shaped the way that people celebrate the festival. My second object is a comic book series, Amar Chitra Katha. The core theme link is knowledge and religion, focusing on the distribution of Indian mythological knowledge. I chose this object as I grew up reading these comic books, and a majority of my knowledge in Indian mythology has been obtained from these books. As these books are adaptations and not original scriptures, they're merely interpretations of mythological events. This object directly links to the IA prompt, as the series has been created to outline mythological developments and has been adapted to provide knowledge that is acceptable by society and acknowledges the Hindu religion. The final object is Indo-Western Clothing. I linked this object to knowledge and religion, focusing primarily on the integration of two different cultures and how they promote self-expression. I chose this object as I believe over the years I've started wearing Indo-Western clothing a lot more, as it helps me be more confident and helps me express myself a lot more. This object links to the IA prompt as it explores the backgrounds of two religions and how they've intertwined themselves into each other's cultures. In conclusion, I believe that historical development of knowledge plays an important role in shaping not only knowledge, but also us as individuals. As I discussed my three objects today, I looked into the impact that they had on cultures and values. My analysis of these objects revolved purely around the interpretation of the objects and the knowledge that they provided. Thank you.
My name is Anushka Bose and I'm from DP1B. And the IA prompt that I've chosen is prompt 27. Does all knowledge impose ethical obligations on those who know it? Every individual follows certain values and beliefs in their lives. Some are installed upon us by our parents, and others we develop on by ourselves through various external influences. It is because of these values, beliefs, and ethics that there may be ethical obligations presented to us. My objects are connected to the core theme, knowledge and the knower, and I will further be exploring the concepts of culture and values. My first object is this picture of Lord Ganesha, who is a known god amongst the Hindus. Being part of any religious group can pose several ethical obligations. For example, as I keep this image in my room, I have been told numerous times that at no point should this picture touch the ground, and whenever we see this picture, we should always join our hands as a sign of respect. Now, I personally do not believe in the existence of God. However, having this knowledge, I, as a knower, feel obligated to follow these practices and mannerisms myself. My second object is this top that I own from Zara. Zara is a clothing company that actively recycles materials. They also make use of clothes which are donated, recycled, and transformed into new fabric. Zara is also taking to technological platforms to make this public knowledge reach a wider audience and connect with knowers. I, as a knower, when came into possession of this knowledge, felt an ethical obligation to choose Zara over its competitors, as they are making an effort and engaging in sustainable production which is beneficial to our environment. Similarly, knowers like myself are likely to be faced with the same ethical obligation to choose Zara's product, making an inevitable connection between knowledge and the knower. My third object is the famous Disney movie Mulan, which is released in 2020. This movie presents a girl who disguises herself as a male warrior and joins the Imperial Army in order to prevent her sick father from doing so, as he had no male heir. In the time period presented in the movie, women were not accepted as anything other than brides. In the movie, after Mulan joins the army, there are several moments shown wherein she considers telling the truth, showing an ethical obligation being presented. Being in possession of that knowledge, the character Mulan's ethics were constantly in question, and therefore she felt this obligation to present the truth. This movie plays a significant role in today's time, as it allows women today to have a voice and present them as equals to men. Hence, those in possession of this knowledge who still carry beliefs and opinions of that time face an ethical obligation to accept women in society today and support equality. In conclusion, knowledge can impose ethical obligations on those who know it. It creates an inevitable connection between knowledge and the knower. Due to the values, beliefs, and ethics that we grew up with, which can play a significant role in doing so, as they pose ethical obligations, questioning the choices of knowers along the way. Thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Ashton Tracy-Barr from DP1A, and for today's TOK exhibit, I chose Prompt 23, which is how important are material tools in the production or acquisition of knowledge. The way we use material tools is primarily the way we're able to enhance our sense of perception as knowers. Our product material choices affect the way we acquire knowledge. Acquiring knowledge is the process of being able to absorb and store memory or new information. Through technology and other material tools, we as knowers are able to use a number of different techniques to help us produce and acquire knowledge. Material tools are important as they assist us when producing knowledge. Through communication, we as knowers are able to both acquire and produce and interpret information and new knowledge. The certainty of knowledge is dependent on how much knowledge we are able to interpret. For object number 1, I chose the printing press. The printing press was invented in the 1440s. Before the printing press, though, everything was manual and there was no method of mass communication or a way to enhance the production of knowledge. This was one of the first pieces of technology that altered the structure of society. It got in a new era and started mass communication in today's world. I chose this object because I read a lot of books, and books have helped me gain information on a lot of different things and concepts and ideas that I didn't know of. Because of the printing press, we have books in today's world. Therefore, the printing press is very important as a start of something new. The printing press in its own era was a technological device that increased the velocity of which information was being produced. In today's world, we have emails and other types of softwares that helps us produce information faster. Although, without the printing press, this evolution wouldn't have come. This change in our society wouldn't have happened. My second object is my paintbrush, one of the tools that I use the most when creating art. As an artist, I can tell you that the paintbrush is the most important tool when creating art, since a paintbrush is what you use to produce your masterpieces. Various artists, including myself, have used this material tool to exhibit their emotions, raise awareness on social issues, or anything that we feel is important to talk about. Standing on the other side of this painting is the audience. The audience is able to acquire the knowledge that we produce through this paintbrush. Our audience is able to pick up and acquire pieces of information from our artwork and understand it themselves. Through my artwork, because of my material tool, which is my paintbrush, I am able to educate and inform the audience about different cultures, and that gives rise to their personal knowledge. My third object is my school. As we all know, the school is an education institute where we as students go to get educated and learn new things under the guidance of our teachers. Although, from my personal experiences, I believe this material tool has helped me further. I, as a knower, am already picking up new information each time I get educated at my institute. Although, other than getting educated just by our teacher's guidance and our textbooks, I have learned more about material tools like smartboards and other devices that have also helped me gain more information about the world. My school is a multiple perspective tool where I am able to acquire and produce knowledge. My school gives me the opportunity to share my personal knowledge with the world and learn about others' personal knowledge and share knowledge as well. My 3 material tools that I chose today definitely help me in obtaining more knowledge, and they help me in interpreting, producing, and communicating my knowledge with the world.
Hello, my name is Aditya Singh of DPS International Edge Gurgaon of DP1B, here to present to you my IA prompts and my 3 objects related to that IA prompt. My IA prompt is prompt number 23 and enlists how material goods affect the production and acquisition of knowledge as a whole. I strongly believe in this argument that material goods do in fact affect the production and acquisition of knowledge, as material goods have been instrumental in the production of knowledge within scientific discoveries and research. I believe that scientific equipment such as simple scientific equipment such as even tweezers or an oscilloscope or a voltmeter are instrumental in establishing key data trends within data sets and allow for the establishment of patterns within data. This allows for clear-cut telemetry and tangible data results, which can be easily transferred from person to person and shared easily as well, because these instruments allow for easy data transmission as well. My first object is the Canon Plume 849 fountain pen. I use this pen on a daily basis in order to write my notes, in order to work, in all, it's my workhorse pen. I am a fountain pen enthusiast, and I really enjoy writing with fountain pens due to their flow and how well they write and how well they portray your handwriting, how well they showcase your handwriting, which is why I've chosen this pen. It is personal to me, as I enjoy writing with fountain pens as a whole. It's a sign of Swiss excellence in engineering, and it shows how much work has been put into the pen just by looking at its chassis. It is beautifully manufactured with a hexagonal chassis and a converter filling system. It has a fine nib which allows me to write well. All in all, it is a beautiful writing instrument which allows me to showcase my handwriting and write down my notes every day. My second object is a Canon M50 camera, the one I am recording from currently right now. It is an amazing camera. It's a mirrorless camera which allows me to show to the world my work. Like my dad had purchased this camera a year ago in order to pursue photography. This camera has been used for photographing various family events and even some outdoor events which we have taken part in. It allows for easy transmission of this knowledge or this content to other people through the wireless protocols that it has inbuilt. All in all, I believe that this object has been very helpful in the transmission and the creation of knowledge, which is videographic and photographs. My third object is the printing press from Johannes Gutenberg, which was discovered in Mainz, Germany. The printing press was discovered and changed society as a whole and how it functioned. It allowed for the transmission of literature from poets and authors all over the globe, and allowed it to be stored within easy to manufacture and compact form, which was the book. All in all, I believe that the printing press is an excellent example of how material goods allow for the production of knowledge, as in the documentation of scientific discoveries as done by various scientists of that era, and the distribution of knowledge via lending books, for example, via the distribution of books and the sale of books as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kashika Lat from DP1B, and I have chosen prompt 24. How might the context in which knowledge is presented influence whether it is accepted or rejected? I wish to explore this prompt through the relationship of knowledge and politics. So this prompt has a lot to do with the communication of knowledge. or more specifically, who is the communicator of the knowledge being presented. So the socio-political context of knowledge impacts the beliefs that are being presented in the knowledge. To understand the knowledge being presented, it is relevant to understand the context and how the presenter of the knowledge can influence the acceptance or rejection of the knowledge. My first object is a poem entitled The White Man's Burden by Rudyard Kipling. This is a poem I studied last term in Language and Literature HL to specifically explore the value of context to any work of literature. This poem was written in response to the American takeover, who were all white men, of the Philippines and its dark-skinned inhabitants after the Spanish-American War. It was written by an English male author in the 19th century, and the poem claims that it is the moral duty of white colonizers to civilize the inhabitants, and it justifies colonialism. At the time in which it was written, imperialism was a vital part of European politics and was seen positively by the white Europeans. Hence, it was accepted by the audience. However, in the current day and age, this poem would be rejected, and the audiences would make the counterclaim that it is racist and immoral because it suggests that other races are inferior and they need to be civilized by the white man. They will reject this poem because in the current context, it is not politically correct. My second object is an advertisement from the 1940s. This advertisement is from the popular American restaurant chain Hardee's, and it claims that to cook for a man is the duty of a woman, and if a man does not have a woman to do so for him, Hardee's will be happy to fill that role in his life. To connect it to the theme of knowledge and politics, it is very important to note that this ad was set in a time where conservatism and rigid gender roles were very prominent in American politics. So this advertisement was accepted by the audiences irrespective of their gender because of the socio-political context of the ad. Now, saying that a woman's purpose is to be in a kitchen cooking for a man will not sit well with the audience because politics has become more radicalized and liberalized. Audiences will make the counterclaim that women exist to serve men is very sexist and politically incorrect, and they will subsequently reject this knowledge because of its blatant misogyny. My third object is the controversial MAGA hat. The phrase "Make America Great Again," abbreviated to MAGA, was President Trump's campaign slogan when he was running for the President of United States of America in 2016 and subsequently in 2020. The implication of the slogan is that Donald Trump can make America great again, and that is why Americans should vote for him. This hat has become a vicious reminder of the post-truth age that Donald Trump's presidency was, and simultaneously a symbol of patriotism for his supporters. This is due to the differing political views of the audience and their conflicting opinions on President Trump. President Trump has been accused of making unfounded knowledge claims and indoctrinating his supporters. President Trump conveniently brushes off facts as fake news when the truth does not suit him, and his indoctrinated supporters follow suit. In fact, Kellyanne Conway, Trump's senior White House aide, even used such terms such as alternative facts to disguise lies. So anyone who wears the MAGA hat is assumed to have accepted Trump's knowledge, whereas his dissenters reject the same and make the counterclaim that Trump is lying. To conclude, the objects I have selected are relevant to the IA prompt because each object explores the influence of socio-political context over the acceptance or rejection of knowledge by an audience. Because depending on the context of any knowledge, we can see the beliefs ingrained in it, or specifically the socio-political beliefs in this case. And when these beliefs are shared by the audience, a presented knowledge is accepted, and if not, the knowledge is rejected. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amrit Srivastava, and for my TOK exhibition, I decided to unpack TOK prompt 10, which talks about the challenges raised during the dissemination and communication of knowledge. And I did this in the perspective of knowledge and technology as a TOK theme. And you find that, really in today's time where knowledge can be spread in matters of seconds, the use of technology, knowledge can be a double-edged sword at times, where it allows us to get knowledge across really quickly, but it's also easy to spread misinterpretation. And I found objects that related to this topic, and I analyzed them using the TOK concepts, perspective, truth, and objectivity, to really find out the role of technology in communication, as well as the challenges raised during the dissemination and communication of knowledge. The first object that I picked for my TOK exhibition is a vinyl disc collection that my father and I have been working on for the past 3 years now. And the reason I picked this is because even though vinyl discs house the music from some of the best artists in the world, like in the 1970s from the Beatles, Michael Jackson, all these artists use vinyl discs. And even though vinyl disc itself as a format is objectively the best, it's high bitrate, low compression, it's still very hard to find these discs, and it's also really hard to play. Vinyl disc players cost a fortune. And this makes it really hard for up-and-coming music producers to, listen to these retro sounds from the 1970s, the so-called golden era of music, and reproduce these sounds just because of how inaccessible it is. And the knowledge over here in the form of music is very important, especially because it's considered of high quality. It's considered to have really high meaning from 1970s, again, as I said, the golden era of music. And the challenge here that's been raised during the communication of this knowledge, as well as the dissemination, is its accessibility as well as its preservation. Because we haven't kept producing these vinyl discs, it's really hard to find now, and that's made it inaccessible and ultimately made this knowledge very hard for us to communicate as well as interpret. The second object I picked for my TOK exhibition is a book titled The Letters of Vincent van Gogh. And the reason I picked this book is because when I was first reading it, my friend jokingly said I shouldn't be reading it because the letters within it weren't addressed to me. And the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. The book itself is a collection of letters that the late artist Vincent van Gogh titled to his brother. And us as readers reading this is an infringement on his privacy, as the letters itself weren't actually addressed to us. It was only for his brother's eyes. And technology has made it very easy for us to mass produce this book, to photocopy it and send it, make it accessible to everyone. And the knowledge itself within this is also invaluable. It has given us the interpretation to some of the most iconic artwork Vincent van Gogh has made. So even though the knowledge here is accessible, it's very invaluable, I'd say. The challenge here in the communication of the knowledge is simply that it's unethical for us to use technology here to mass produce this book and sell it to other people, because the letters within it weren't actually titled for anybody other than Vincent van Gogh's brother. The third and final object I picked for my TOK exhibition is a statue of a video game character called Karen. And it's from a video game I play. It's a small indie game called League of Legends, which is why this object is so personal to me, as I would never in 100 years mistake this statue for anything other than the character I've played in the video game. However, the predetermined context required to understand this statue is available only in a technological format, in the form of a video game played on a computer. And because this knowledge can sometimes be inaccessible, the pedestrians here are seen as misinterpreting the statue as that of a Chinese god. And this is a problem because unintentionally people are being deceived. People were offering money and other such valuable items as offerings to this to what they thought was a god. And because the predetermined context wasn't accessible to the knower or the audience, the truth got clouded, and as such the knowledge that was being communicated was misinterpreted. But the challenge here raised was making sure that the communication of knowledge is easily understandable and interpretable by the audience. After exploring the TOK Prompt 10, it's made it really clear that even though technology allows us to disseminate and communicate knowledge really quickly, such as that in the examples of social media and the news sources, even though we're able to do it really quickly, that sometimes there can be drawbacks to this, such as the ethical concerns that are explored in Object 2, as well as just losing out on the technological format itself, such as in Object 1, where we're now at risk of losing vinyl discs because we don't produce them. And it really highlights the double-edged nature of technology in the context of dissemination and communication of knowledge. Exploring the prompt through the lens of the TOK theme and TOK concepts, it's made it really clear that we should be very careful when using technology to disseminate and communicate knowledge to make it more accessible as well as ethical.
I'm Anadi Nambia from DP1A, and I've chosen the prompt, are some types of knowledge less open to interpretation than others? The prompt questions the certainty of knowledge that is being presented to the knower by delving into whether there is room for interpretation. My exhibition attempts to decipher the influence of language on the interpretability of knowledge. It is an exploration into certainty and perspective, as well as the different types of knowledge and their empirical or interpretable nature. Therefore, it asks the knower to determine whether there their personal knowledge, experiences, and beliefs are woven into the knowledge that they are assimilating, or are they simply absorbing a replica of the knowledge presented to them? My first object is my recreation of the painting The Black Square by Kazimir Malevich. I chose to recreate this due to my fascination with abstract art and the movement that this particular piece of art represents, suprematism. My own version was spray painted, however, which changes the manner of application, infusing my individuality and my perception of life and art into this particular piece. The original painting uses visual language to encompass the 0 point of painting. However, the meaning of the painting has been debated over by scholars throughout history, some claiming that it's a commentary on art itself. Art as an area of knowledge is largely open to interpretation due to its lack of explicit statements. The lack of imagery and hidden figures in this painting open it up to infinite interpretation due to the fact that the knower, with their individual perspective and their personal knowledge, can interpret it in any manner that they see fit due to the lack of concrete designs. This leaves this particular piece of art, which is a form of knowledge, largely open to interpretation, since each individual develops their own personal knowledge after reflection. My group 4 subject selection was chemistry HL, and my mother is an analytical chemist. Growing up around chemistry, I saw its empirical nature. Thus, the object I have chosen is my mother's old organic chemistry textbook, which she has given to me. I find chemistry a really interesting subject and natural science a fascinating area of knowledge as it transcends local language and is universal. It is a type of knowledge that's mutually agreed upon worldwide and connects us beyond physical limitations such as countries or even our planet. The language in this book does not rely on connotation or linguistic devices, rather everything is explicit and factual. Chemistry is based on absolutes and is a type of knowledge a knower cannot interpret to derive multiple meanings from. Thus, some types of knowledge are less open to interpretation as there's only one correct interpretation. My third object is my dog, Macy. She is an integral member of our family, however she cannot communicate with us verbally. I chose her to explore how body language is interpreted, especially when the semiotics ingrained into different cultures and species vary. As I established a relationship with Macy, I learned how to interpret her physical cues, which tend to differ slightly between different dogs and greatly between species. Knowers possessing only a rudimentary understanding of dog behavior interpret their body language and oral communication based on their perception of the dog's actions, not based on what's explicitly being communicated. This is due to the language barrier that compels us to interpret their actions as we cannot physically communicate explicitly. As knowers, we rely on what we've been socially trained to read as aggression, friendliness, submission, which is majorly inaccurate as we're associating dog behavior with what has been unprofessionally ingrained in us. We can interpret body language in any way we see fit, although we're trained to attribute certain things like growling to aggression. We interpret the dog's actions based on personal knowledge, social training, and personal biases. This is an example of how unfamiliar types of knowledge can lead to misinterpretation, as it is open to interpretation due to the lack of certainty we can ascertain in our findings. Similarly, communicating with knowers that speak another language or from another culture can lead to misinterpretation. Language creates scope for interpretation based on implicit meanings and connotations, which are amplified by language barriers. Overall, some types of knowledge will be accepted as more finite or indisputable with no room for interpretation, whilst others will be largely open to interpretation, but all knowledge requires varying degrees of interpretation. In some cases, such as chemistry, it is the interpretation of the question, but the interpretation can be incorrect or invalid, whilst in others, such as art, all interpretations will be correct, as the interpretation is personal to the knower.
On behalf of the management, pedagogical leadership team, and the DPSI fraternity of knowers and explorers, I, Jyotika Singh, the IB Diploma Program Coordinator, propose the vote of thanks on this valedictory moment. It is an absolute honor to thank Mr. Michael Dunn for gracing the occasion as the chief guest. Sir, your very presence was a great motivation for us all. It goes without saying that your insightful reflections have enriched us and added new dimensions to our learning. It was a privilege to have enlightened educators and curious learners who traversed through this virtual exhibition. A sincere thank you to all the guests and the parent community. I would also like to extend our gratitude to the young scholars of DP Year 1 at DPSI for enriching our understanding and appreciation of the world of theory of knowledge through their inquisitive and exciting mindsets that invigorated thoughts about the unknown embedded in the known. A humble thanks to the guiding light, Ms. Reema Singh, our head of school, and Ms. Seema Kaushal, our secondary school principal, whose vision and guiding thoughts encouraged us to curate this virtual TOK exhibition with such precision and finesse. I would be failing in my duty if I do not acknowledge and applaud the tireless efforts put in by the entire DP faculty, the TOK team comprising Ms. Nagma Kamal Khan, Ms. Vartika Avdesh, Ms. Sakshi Arora, and Mr. Karthik Hariharan. A special mention to the DPSI tech experts, Ms. Preeti Singhal and Mr. Jaspreet Singh Walia, without whom this floor wouldn't have been as seamless as it was. Last but not the least, Ms. Shalini Sehgal, our TOK coordinator, whose persistence and initiative has opened the vistas of knowledge exploration for the entire team. With this, we conclude the first ever Theory of Knowledge virtual exhibition by the class of May 2022. Happy tidings!